I included this particular observation of Castaneda's in the writing of The Power of Intention because it was this particular quote that really inspired me to write this book, produce this program, and be here with you today. Here's what the quote says. In the universe, there is an unmeasurable, indescribable force which those who live of the source, and of the source means sorcerer. Now, not sorcerer in the way we think of witches and incantations and all kinds of hocus pocus. That's not what the word sorcerer means. It means of the source. Those who live of the source in the universe call this unmeasurable and indescribable force intention. Absolutely everything that exists in the entire cosmos is attached to intent by a connecting link. He goes on to say that sorcerers are not only concerned with understanding and explaining that connecting link, but are especially concerned with cleansing it of the numbing effects brought about by all of the concerns of living at ordinary levels of consciousness. These are very important and powerful words to consider. Think of it like this. Everything in this universe was intended here, including you, every mosquito, every palm tree, every avocado, all of the Rocky Mountains and the oceans. Everything that shows up in the material world emanates from a source. This source can be thought of as that which intends things into the material world. The question here today isn't whether or not you are going to be connected to it because you couldn't be. You couldn't be listening to this program or processing what I'm saying if you weren't connected to this field. This field beats your heart. This field of energy grows your fingernails and everyone else's fingernails. I used to say it grows your hair, but I've become a little suspicious of that. What I'd like you to think about is the observation that intention is what grows all life. Intention isn't about whether you're going to connect to it. You're already connected to it. The question is, how rusty, corroded, or dirty is the link between you and this field of intention? Sorcerers are those who are concerned with cleansing this connecting link so that you become more and more in rapport with or in harmony with this field of intention. The more you're in harmony with this field of intention, the more you are able to do all that this field of intention is able to do. You are able to create miracles, heal yourself, attract the abundance that has been missing, and find the right people who show up exactly on time. That's how the universal source from which all things and all people originated works. What we're going to be doing here today in this program is looking at how to get that link back to intention and to not only be connected to it, but to always be ready to keep that connecting link clean and uncorroded. One of the things that really intrigues me is this idea. I heard it many, many years ago. I'm not even sure of the original source where I heard it, but it goes like this. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Albert Einstein once observed that the most fundamental and major decision you have to make in your life is this. Do I live in a friendly or a hostile universe? Which is it? Is it a universe that is filled with hostility and anger and people wanting to hate each other and kill each other? Is that what you see? Because when you see the world that way, that's exactly what you will create for yourself in your life. This is from great scientific minds. The interesting thing is that this is not just a clever play on words. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It's actually a very scientific thing, and I'm going to show you that in just a moment. I'd like you to imagine the following scene. You're in your house, you've got your car keys in your hand, the lights go out, power failure. You can't see a thing. You stumble around in your living room and drop your keys. You look around for a moment and realize that you're never going to find them in the dark. But you look outside and notice that the street lights are on. So in your mind, a light bulb goes off. I'm not going to sit around here in the dark and grope around looking for my keys when there's a light on outside. I'm going to go out here under the street light and look for my keys. Why are you laughing? This makes a lot of sense. So you're out here and you're groping around looking for your keys. Your neighbor comes along and says, "What happened, Wayne?" "Well, I dropped my keys." "Oh, I'll help you look for them." And the two of us are now down here looking for our keys and looking. Finally, he says to me, "Excuse me, but where did you drop your keys?" "Well, I dropped them in the house." He said, "You mean to tell me that you dropped your keys in the house and you're looking for them out here in the street light? That doesn't make any sense." I said, "Well, it doesn't make any sense to grope around in the dark when there's light out here." Now you laugh and think how silly that is. But isn't that exactly what we do when we have a problem, difficulty, or struggle that is located inside and we're looking for the solution outside, someplace outside of ourselves? The question isn't whether I'm connected to this field of intention. The question is, how ready am I to keep that connecting link absolutely corrosion-free? There are two kinds of attention, according to Neville: subjective attention and objective attention. Subjective attention is different from objective attention. You want to use subjective attention, not objective attention. Neville says there's an enormous difference between attention directed objectively and attention directed subjectively. The capacity to change your future depends on the latter. Whatever you have placed into your imagination, you always go to your reality and call that which does not exist as if it did. I am, and you. I have a rule about it. Don't complain and don't explain. You don't have to explain what you have placed into your imagination. It is totally yours. One of my great teachers in my life during my early doctoral years was Dr. Abraham Maslow. He said, "Become independent of the good opinion of other people. Trust yourself. Subjective attention is you and only you. You are the subject that impacts the burning desire in your imagination. You are living and feeling as if your future dreams are a present fact. Objective attention makes you become the objectified result of other people telling you what you can't do, what's impossible, and so on. Subjective attention is yours alone. I have an image that I use. I call it the superglue method. When I have an intention about what it is, including doing this program, I make it a reality. It involves a lot of money, expense, people, and things coming together. It involves going over to my writing space every single day. I never give up on it, even if I don't feel like writing for 4 or 5 hours every day. I superglue my intention into my imagination. I don't allow anybody else's opinions to distract me. I don't care if they tell me I can't do it, or if it's impossible, or it'll cost too much, or we can't do it. My intentions are super glued there. I have that do not disturb sign placed on my imagination. It is mine. Use this. Don't allow anybody else's opinions. Don't allow what it says on the internet. Don't allow the research. Don't allow what anybody out there tells you is possible or not possible for you. The ego and awareness cannot coexist together. The ego is a kind of thinking that says that who I am is what I have, what I do, and what other people think of me. It says I'm separate from everyone else and separate from God. I evaluate myself on the basis of this. Many of you grew up with this idea that who you are is what you do, what you accumulate, and what other people think of you, your reputation, and so on. Thinking with awareness is thinking from the highest place that there is. It's the kind of thinking that allows excuses to be eradicated from your life. It's the thinking that is talked about in the New Testament. With God, all things are possible. The next principle I call embracing silence. Embracing silence. Not that I say this to you because it is so important to be quiet. What I have learned, I have a dear friend, and many of you know we've appeared in tapes together, appeared on stage together. He teaches all over the world. He's like a brother to me. His name is Dr. Deepak Chopra, a medical doctor and a dear and close friend. Whenever anything is going on in my family, if I'm having a problem with one of my children or in my own life, if I call him up and say, Deepak, or his wife Rita, I'll say, Deepak, what do you think I should do? He always has the same answer. Meditate. Yes, I'll say, Deepak, I understand. Meditate, but Deepak, what do you think? He'll say, Wayne, go deep inside and meditate. I'll say, will you put Rita on? You know, I've learned a lot in meditation. What I know most about getting quiet, getting peaceful is this. There is only one power in the universe, and it doesn't matter what you call it. You can call it soul, spirit, consciousness, or God. You can call it Louise. You can call it anything you want. As Alan Watts said, you can't get wet from the word water. It's not what we call something that gives it its substance. This one power, this one force that flows through everything and allows everything to be is indivisible. You can't cut it in half. You can't divide it. It's the one. It's knowing the one. Everything in your life is almost always given a division. Male, female, young, old, tall, short, black, white, good, bad, up, down. These are all dichotomies. These are all splits we all have in our lives. The whole physical world that we live in and are immersed in is always immersed in this division. I used to teach a course at St. John's University in New York, and I used to tell my students when I was trying to teach this principle, Anyone who can come to class and bring with them a magnet that only has a North Pole, I'll give you an A in the course, and you don't ever have to attend another class. No matter how thin they would slice that magnet, there was always the South Pole, because the physical world is made up of dichotomies. We have to learn to fuse the dichotomies. Infusing the dichotomies and blending the one is what silence does for us. That's why embracing silence is so powerful, because no matter how many times you cut silence in half, it's like zero. You still only get silence. In Zen, they say, it's the space between the bars that holds the tigers. It's the silence between the notes that makes the music. These words that come out of my mouth right now come out of the silence. And finding that silence and embracing it means that you go to the place within you that you cannot divide. Just like you cannot divide the source, the one, the spirit, you can't divide that either. It's only one. So when you go into your silence and you begin to practice meditation, and you begin to make this part of your life and embrace the silence, what you'll come to discover is that this is where you come to know your source. You'll make conscious contact with your source. I can't tell you how many people have come to me and suffered from serious illness and have been given diagnosis that it's terminal, and who have gone out to the wilderness and decided, I am going to commune with nature. The transcendentalists, Thoreau and Emerson, believed that nature was our source, and believed that if you could get back to your source, that if you can get back with that feeling of being one with spirit, then that's where healing can take place. I've had wonderful stories of people who told me when I began to embrace that silence that I began to feel more connected to my source. Embrace silence because it's a way to come to know God, to know your source. Both are indivisible. The only experience that you can have in your daily life that even comes close to a spiritual awakening is silence.